Okay, and welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
What is up, everyone? It is I, Ryan Neil Wayne, alongside Joe King. And yes, it is the second to last episode before the finale. And, final several. And this was a fun episode. Um,
Mhm.
this was an interesting episode because both of us thought that Steven was going to go, but the Survivor
I,
gods.
I said I thought he was going home sixth place, so I'm still on the boards. You thought he was going because we exchanged boot lists, and I had him as sixth.
Oh, yeah, right. You thought Sage was going next. But
Yes.
all right. Well, it basically this episode starts and it was like, yeah, Steven is kind of cooked. And then this episode was like, you know what, Steven? We haven't been too generous to you in the edit. Now we're fine. I wouldn't say now. It
Yeah.
was like there would be moments where it's like, yeah, Steven, but also more so, let's see what's happening on the original Uli people. This episode, just straight up, like he's the MVP of this week. He just got
Yeah.
everything
Oh
he
yeah,
needed.
this was the Steven episode, and I know what you're saying about like his edit because we've lumped him in with the Hina tribe. But if you really actually look into it, though, I mean, they have always made sure to check in on Steven. I think that there's definitely a case that he is that kind of like underappreciated winner who gets to the end against like the big like top dogs, but the jury is full of underdogs or like the other people who just kind of like him and end up voting for Steven. I actually think he's now in like a contender status, which he was not a contender previous to this. But I do think that there's definitely like merit to like, can Steven do it? He has a huge uphill battle still next week and at Final Five. But if he can manage to survive that, I think he has a good chance of actually doing something if he makes it to the end.
Well, I mean, with the block of though, like, yeah, and he
Yeah.
even said it in this episode, it has more power, with the less votes that are there.
Mhm.
So definitely is possible if we take aside the whole Survivor 50 rumors and stuff like that. Like this is something that could help him in the end game.
Mhm.
Uh, I do feel like it's one of those things where he just has to get through these two rounds
Yeah.
and then it's fighting fire, which who knows? But it's like if you're in a 50-50 shot when it comes to fire making, that's better odds than a lot of people get on Survivor.
Mhm. Oh yeah, no, it's definitely great because I think going into this week, he was one of the ones who we thought was dead in the water. Like just no chance. Like maybe he survives a round or two, but like he can't really do anything. I'm definitely more in the boat of just like, okay, there is something there. There is a chance. I know Jawan in a exit interview said like he was asked what you value as a jury member, and he said from a fan perspective you want to vote for the most strategic dominant player, but sometimes you end up going for people who you get emotionally attached to people, you start liking people, and that changes who you vote for. And I think that there's a good chance that we might have a bit of a better jury situation where we're seeing a lot of the perspective of Savannah, Rizz God, Soph, but in a world where like those like Rizz God and Savannah are considered like the top ones, whoever it sits next to them might just end up getting the votes because we might be entering a bit of a bitter juror situation.
I don't see it being bitter jury. No one
I
has ever been.
I know what you're saying, but from what I'm hearing about Ponderosa, it does not seem to be the most welcoming place to some people.
For this season.
Yes, I've heard some stuff about Jawan being very isolated and not like welcomed very well on Ponderosa. So I think that there's definitely some animosity that we're not seeing on the season because they don't want us to know about it. They're trying to hide some of like what's actually going on because they think it's maybe a little too muddy of a situations. Um, And so I really think that there's a good chance that we're seeing like 15% of the full picture. We're seeing the picture Survivor wants us to see because they know about Savannah. Because they wanted Rizz God and Savannah. They liked them on the island, so they're giving us the edits of those two players the most because they really want us to get invested in those two players. But someone else might actually end up being the winner, and those are the two people who maybe get to the end with someone else who ends up winning. I don't know. This is pure speculation. It's just something that I definitely have kind of noticed and have been picking up, like every week that people are getting eliminated. Stuff like that is kind of coming out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've been looking at it more than I have. It's just, and I mean, like, here's the deal. We can only go by what is given to us, like information wise. Also, they're still under NDA, so there's only so much they can say and stuff like that. Some people honestly are better than others. I remember who was it? Was it Sophi B that did a cameo that said something about fire making with
Sophi S.
Sophi S. The other Sophi, as she said in her exhibit. That was so funny. It was like, does that mean I'm the other Sophi?
Yeah, it sure does.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this episode we kind of it's interesting because it's like we see who's in the middle. This season has very much been like, oh, especially for the last few votes, it's like who's in the middle? Oh, this person. Let's take them out. And it's almost like it's almost akin to voting blocks where it's like there's still obviously the tight alliance, that tight duo of Rizzo and Savannah. Then you have that duo of Steven and Kristina. And then like the other three are like in the middle. Yeah, they have some preference and stuff like that. But then it was like, oh, Sage might go, but now she's technically on the bottom now. But that leaves Sophie Bananas as the swing vote. And then they're like, hold on, she has too much power. Then they go after her. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, this episode pretty much starts off with Sage saying, like, to Sophie S, hey, you just gave Savannah $1 million for doing that, and then literally she just, like, saves Savannah again and does not want to even do that, which, yet again, right move for Sage in that scenario is going for Savannah. You gotta go for Savannah. You can't keep, like I've been in games where there's a small minority who has some power, and then everyone on the big majority side, they every round a couple of them freak out and are scared and don't want to pull the trigger, and it ruins the plan over and over and over again until that minority has the power. And that's happening right here. Like, Steven's got the block of vote, but there's still a good chance that Rizz God ends up playing his idol correctly next round anyways, and doesn't matter about the block of votes.
Also, can I mention, there was an opportunity for Rizzo to really fuck with people about the fake idol.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was as if that moment never happened. And it was just like, yeah, it was just Rizzo just having a laugh. And so like everyone was like, yeah, his idol is legit. Granted, that's also because Stephanie B, or not Stephanie, Sophi B has been like also like starting to like faction, like start to like drift away from those two, and is like, yeah, so I know that he has it and stuff like that. So I don't know. She goes back and forth so much. She was even like, I could even use it on the potential steal a vote that Steven has. It's just like, I don't know if it is the edit or it's just like, but she keeps going back and forth like, should I not?
Yeah. I mean, she's got to make a move next week, or I think she has no chance of winning. Like, it is she has to steal Rizz God's idol, because she can't steal Steven's block vote because he's going to play that before Tribal. And so if she tries to steal it from him, she's gonna get I don't got anything because it's already been played. Um,
Yeah.
so her only choice is to steal Rizz God's idol, but also in the edit, I mean, it just does not feel like we have been told that Sophie is really wanting to make this move. Like she's talking to Sage, and Sage is we get a confession from Sage saying like, "Oh, she's not gonna do it." Like that's been our whole like conversation of what's she gonna do, and it just does not seem like it's gonna go in that way. It really seems like those three are okay going to the end together. And
Yeah.
they all think they beat each other. So we're gonna
Well, I
have to
mean,
see.
we've talked about this. I think like more so with this season than I think we have in the past. It's like perception is so much reality. I think there is a world where if Sage wasn't, like didn't believe that Sophie's screen time was as like close to the others, like to Rizzo and to Savannah, then I think there is a possibility that they make that move. But because Sage doesn't believe Sophi B at all,
Hmm.
that's like a missed opportunity because it's like, well, I feel like she's just fishing for information. She doesn't actually want to work with me and make that move.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Sage after this vote is going to kind of be looked at as like best case scenario for her is third place. Like I just don't. I think that she's not going to get respect. I think that people are going to look at this move to not this week as like an emotional move. That this was not a her thinking strategically, thinking about the game. She was thinking about Jawan, and it might get her Jawan's vote. There's a chance she gets second place off of that if everyone else votes for someone else. But she's not winning the game off of this move. Like it is one of those just like I yeah, she can maybe get to the end. Like I do see worlds where some people who are not Rizz God, Savannah, and Soph are okay sitting next to Sage. Like I think the other people are like, "Come on, Sage, let's go." Steven and Kristina are like, "Come on," but we have not been told at all in that it's that those are going to be the
No,
final three of the season. So
no. Uh, it is tough. Um, it's it is interesting going into this end game as well because if I'm looking at like what are people going to bring to FTC,
mm,
it's like I can see a lot of people be kind of called out for that stuff. I'm not saying
mm,
you've mentioned there might be I don't want to say a bitter jury, but like a jury that might have like some bias
mm,
and won't be as open-minded.
yeah,
But, like if we're thinking of like, okay, what are the arguments? I think one of the biggest things you have to prepare for at Final Tribal Council is the arguments against you
mm,
because it's like owning your game, that's number one priority. Your number two thing, and that could make or break, is, you know, what is what can be used against you, or that sometimes you're not privy to certain stuff where you think, oh, you were the one that engineered this move and stuff. Other people could have been pulling strings behind the scenes, and like you don't get full credit for that or any credit. It was like, yeah, I knew you would do that, and then like this, that, whatever. But it's like it's more so like, what are the potential holes in your game, and how can you
mm,
cover that up, or be like, this actually worked for me in the long run. Um, and I'm like looking at this cast. I feel Kristina has some explaining to do. I think like I think she can tug on the heartstrings. I feel like that's one of the big
mm,
things, especially like she's had a lot of big emotional moments here. And I feel like also if Steven is on the jury, she gets a vote for him like hands down.
yeah,
I feel Steven could make an argument for his game, because he was like, oh, he went from being on the top to being on the bottom, and he kind of had whiplash throughout this game. And then depending how he plays the block of votes, that could be huge for him. If I'm looking at Rizzo, he can make like the obvious statement of like, yeah, I never had to play the idol, and even though everyone knew about it, they still didn't want, you know, it was like I had the
Mhm.
biggest target, but no one wanted to take the shot. He has that going for him. Sophi B, it's a little tricky because it was like, well, what did you do? Because some people be like, oh, you didn't make the move, so therefore you played badly, or not as good as the other people. And then Savannah is obviously like, hey, I was number one target. A little same as Rizzo is like, yeah, but I didn't have the security of the idol. I had to, you know, like I didn't necessarily have to win because either way, I was like, who's in the middle? Like she has a lot of stuff going for her as well. So I feel like there, and with say,
Something that, if you see that as you're leaving, and that might be one of the last lingering moments as you're leaving the game, essentially. um it can definitely rub people the wrong way and make people go like, hey, if someone else has some kind of case, maybe I vote for that person. So she has to definitely, she has to be aware of it, I think, at the end as well. If she's not aware, if
yeah,
she thinks that she did not come off that way, that could be a problem for her.
well, I think it comes to if she didn't, she has to have humility in that moment, be like, yeah, I am sorry. And
Hmm.
it's playable, but you know, it's like that could be a hole in the game. Like, but yeah. And then for Sage, it's kind of like I know there are comparisons to her and Carolyn, and I
Hmm.
feel like those connection or the same like argument could be made. It was like, oh, I'm just the person. I feel like it depends like how much because her closest ally was Jawan. If Jawan can like, you know, like fact check and be like, yeah, this is true and that and kind of like support what she is saying, then she has a pretty good shot
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah. I right now, I think Christine and Sage, just, I don't think they're winning. I think those are the two people we can kind of just take off the boards. Or I would give them 0% chance of winning the season. It would be crazy. It would be wild, especially Christina, who got two goose eggs in the confessionals, like, and got two confessionals this last episode. It's not happening for Christina. She's just not going to do
Yeah,
it.
I will.
Sage, I get, but I still think Carolyn is just the better player, and she got third place. I think that we're in another situation where people are going to just not credit her for any of her stuff that she did strategically, and especially with this move, because she's going to be labeled as the emotional player, and this is now the proof of it. Like, she can't like wave that away now. It's now like with her.
I will. Yeah, I think you make a point. Like, I mean, Carolyn is who we're comparing her towards. I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, if we're talking up until this point, I would say that Carolyn did a little better. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't count Sage out though. She made a lot of very impactful moves. Like one of the things was getting rid of Shannon early on, and then that did give her a lot of that fluidity throughout the game as
Yeah,
well. I feel
but
like getting to the end could be the tricky part, but I feel like she has a pretty, so I would not count her out.
but you got to remember, people on the jury don't care about pre-merge because they didn't see it. A couple people saw it, but guess what? They're going to be looking at what happened in the jury. That's just ends up being the case. And yeah,
Uh,
she was a part of the driving and like was able to go back and forth. But I mean, I think that there was clearly some mistakes that they had in the middle that caused what happened here. And also when we saw from the perspective of Sage trying to make the move against Savannah that takes Jawan out of the game, I think that's a terrible look. I think there are so many people who were saying Savannah in that round. They did not need to have that be in the perspective of Sage. The fact that they chose that to be the perspective of Sage is not good.
I wouldn't count out Sage.
I know. She's number 2 for you up there, wherever that is.
Well, it's like, well, yeah, I only have
Yeah,
Savannah and Sage left in
yeah,
the draft.
yeah.
Um, but it's one of those things where it's like edit what it's always tough when it comes to edit versus like gameplay.
Hmm.
I would say both work for her, but there's also those like hiccup or dodo moments that you refer to. Like remember last season, 48, if
Hmm.
you want to relive a little
I
bit of
don't.
that.
I'd rather not, but go ahead.
Just to make the point. You were like, Joe is definitely winning this season because there was a moment when Kyle was talking and it was all muted out, and then Shaheen was also talking and it was muted out, and it was solely the perspective was on Joe.
Hmm.
So he has to win because that's the edit saying that what Shaheen and
Well,
Kyle
no,
saying.
no. That's very different. I'm talking about an actual game related like move that is happening. That was just like, oh, they just love Joe. They're gonna show him because they just love Joe. I also, by the way, you should never talk about the edit of 48. It was just maybe like one of the worst edits that we've ever seen in Survivor. But like I would look at this more closely to actually the in 48 the Thomas boots, where we saw a lot of perspective of Shaheen trying to make the move against Kyle. Okay, and he was like, he was the one driving it. Like, we gotta get Kyle, and we saw a lot of perspective from that. Guess what happens? Kyle survives, and Shaheen was the one pegged as the one who messed up. And I think it's a very similar situation that we're getting here, where Sage is the one who's the Shaheen and is saying, "Come on, let's go for this." Doesn't work out, and they made sure to have someone who is not winning be that one person to do it, because you can't have your winner have their whole story arc then suddenly be like, let's go for this person, and then it fail, and then it just blows up in their face, and it's just kind of like, okay, my game is over.
Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
also want to make sure to the viewers at home. I do 90%, 95% believe that Savannah is still winning this game. However, like I'm just saying purely from my POV and my assessment of stuff is that I would not count her out if I'm to remove the Survivor 50 bias. Like if that wasn't
Mhm.
there, I'd be like, like it's also like especially after the whole Erica incident in 41, it's like, can I see, has this person gotten enough coverage in general where I'm like, yeah, I feel like that makes sense, or yeah, um, it was there if you look back at it. And I feel
Yeah.
like if you look at her game, it's there.
Yeah.
Is she the strongest person? No. But I feel like I wouldn't say she had 0% chance. I would say she has, if I'm going to give everything like a bit more equal without the 50 bias, I give her like maybe like anywhere between 15 to 20%.
Yeah. That, I think that's way too high. I think even if we just take edit out of the equation, I mean, giving her anything more than 1%, I think is very
You're just
generous.
mean. You're mean.
I'm not
You
being
just
mean.
like being
I'm
mean.
just no. I'm a realist. I'm sorry, but right now, in where her game sits going into final 6, she like tell me 2 people that she wins in the end. Tell me 2 people. Okay, you got Kristina. Who's the other person she sits at the end and wins against? Oh, you're gone. Well, Ryan has left. He rage quit the podcast. Okay, well, that's a great time for that to happen. Let me see if he's still here. Oh, there you are. I don't know what happened.
Wait, me?
Yeah, you disappeared.
You disappeared too. All right, so I'm
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
All right, you're asking me specifically who would vote for Sage in the end.
No. I'm telling you, out of the 6 people left in the game, give me 2 people if she's sitting next to at the end that is a Sage victory. Like, she beats the other 2. You got Kristina. I'll give you Kristina.
Sophi B.
I think Sophi B still wins. I think her story is still going to be better. I think in the world where we are getting a Sage, Kristina, Sophi B situation, that has to be where she turns. She's not going to somehow get to the end with those two, and she doesn't turn. So in this world, she's got to acknowledge his power, take away Rizz God's idol, and now she has it. Because there's just no world where those three are going to be sitting in the end together unless she doesn't do that. So, right there, I think Sophi B definitely wins.
Savannah.
Savannah, clearly she wins. She's the front runner. What are you talking about?
You keep okay. I need to call you out on some bullshit then.
Okay, go for it.
You can't be saying like, "Oh, this seems like a bitter jury" and stuff like that. And also on the flip side, be like, "Wait, actually, I think Savannah just wins."
Yeah,
it's like,
no. I'm telling you that I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm saying that there's definitely worlds where we have a bitter jury situation, but I just don't see a world where Sage is going to be the one who gets the benefits of being the bitter jury. We haven't been told from the perspective of people that they are like, wow, I love being around Sage. The only person that we really know about that is Jawan. Everyone else, we are not really like told like, oh yeah. So I'm not really going to be like, yeah, Sage is going to be the one who beats Savannah in the end.
All right. So I guess because we're really more so talking about this. All right. So if you were to rank, who do you think is going to win based off of everything? From 1 to 6. Like, what does that look like? You can even give a little percentage or anything like that if you wish.
Yeah. Yet again, it's tough because we know what happens in 50. So I'm gonna give you. I almost want to give you two different ones because there's one that I think is because of 50, and then there's one that I would actually say if we knew nothing of 50.
No, you have to choose. You have to choose one.
Which one do you want?
The one you actually think will happen.
Well, Savannah.
If it's influenced by 50, it's influenced by 50.
I think Savannah has a 70% chance to win the season. So I think she is the most likely person to win, but there are those other scenarios, and that's why I keep saying this could happen, because they are part of those extra 30% of just like, oh, look at what also could be happening here. There is a story that has been developing that could potentially lead to something. It might not, but I'm noticing some trends in what's going on, and I'm just like presenting it.
I do the same thing, and you call me stupid each time.
Yeah, because it's funny to do that.
Admit if Gary, he just admitted he's full of shit.
I'm not full of shit. I just am playing devil's advocate. I'm saying this could happen. This also could happen.
All right. So who's number 2 on your list?
Steven. Steven has
number 3.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shock you with information. He is now tied in confessionals with Rizz God.
I don't think that last episode was really big. That doesn't surprise me too much.
Yeah, but he closed that fucking gap with this, and I mean, I'm just saying he has been present, and typically in a Survivor winner, their edit ramps up. Okay, they get more content as they go. They become a bigger part of the story. Steven he has very clearly been getting a ramp up. Savannah, on the other hand, 3 episodes in a row where she has only gotten 3 confessionals in very important, pivotal parts of the season. To get that level of content is very interesting.
Interesting, yes, but
yeah.
We'll see. All right, so number 3.
Number 3, Rizz God. I think, if he sits at the end, there's always the chance that he can convince people that. But I do think also age is going to be a factor for him. I think him being the youngest person on the season is not a good thing. If he was on a different season that had a few 22, 21-year-olds, I think he would have had a better chance on that season.
I
Because
I
we
think I don't know. I think because it happened with Xander, yeah, I feel like maybe that
it
might be
it it's not just Xander. It's so tough because they never want to really translate it too much on the show, but people do care about who they're giving the money to. That
yeah,
for
naturally.
a lot of people that matters more than what you did in the game. And for a lot of people, they see a goofy 25-year-old who is all saying Rizz God and doing all this stuff. And there's a good chance that they, in their back of their minds, are going to say he's going to blow his money. He's going to just go through it and it's going to be gone really quick. Whereas I can give it to some of these other people who are in their 30s or whatever, and they're going to be, try to have more like responsibility with it. Am I saying like that's how I would vote? No, but there are people who do that in Survivor.
And I feel like that
Yeah,
is fair too. That is
yeah,
fair too because it's like, it's different than an org where it's all just like fun and
mm,
games. This is like, it's like
yeah.
$1 million. Hell, even giving a vote to someone so they can get second place and get 10 or 100K. That's not,
Yeah.
well, I mean, 100K these days that's okay money.
I mean, it's
But
still life changing for a lot of people.
it's it makes things all right. I don't want to get too political right now. It will
Mm,
make things easier for a couple years,
mm,
but like especially after taxes, it'll make things easier for a
yeah,
couple years.
yeah. But like 100K is a lot better, I think, to give to like in their mind will be like, okay, they can blow through 100K, but blowing through $1 million, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So that's like one of those things where it's whenever you're the youngest person, it's always going to be there. People can defy it. It's not like you're a dead on arrival situation,
I
but
mean, Marianne.
yeah, exactly. Marianne is one of those examples. She was like 23 when she won, so it's obviously possible. It's just like I can't really put you as like my number one because there's you have an uphill battle.
No, I feel like that's a fair placement.
Mhm.
All right, number 4.
That's where you get Sophi B, where she has one chance, and it is next week. If she doesn't do what she needs to do next week, she can't win the game. Like just straight up, she can't. She has one more round to do something, and if she doesn't do it, then it's over.
All right, and then you've kind of said, well, which one
Yeah,
is less zero than the other?
I would put Sage than Kristina.
Okay. So mine is not too different.
Mm,
Number 1, Savannah, because yeah,
yeah.
Survivor 50 as well as I feel like despite like a little you make a lot of solid points about Steven. I'm not
Yeah.
going to deny that. And I like Steven. I like
Hmm.
dad jokes. I like his nerdy Ryan Reynolds persona. Shit like that.
Hmm.
He's cool. Um so I don't know. I feel like I will put Rizz God second just because his game has been very, very flashy. And if he
Hmm.
makes it to the end, I feel like it's really hard to say, like really hard to be like, I think he's one of the toughest people to go up against if you are in the finals with, especially if you are Savannah or if
Hmm.
you are, like Kristina or, like Sophi B. Like Steven, I feel like whoever he goes up against, he's going to be tough as well to face off against. Then I would put Steven, especially because, like, yes, very good episode. He has a lot of influence in this game. He was in positions earlier on that could have been a little dicey for him, but like, he was able to, like not have power, and kind of back and forth, even when his back was at the wall. I think he has a good shot. Number 4, I will say Sage, um, just because I feel like she does have a lot to her story. And the thing is, it's like you say that. for those who are there or who weren't there and stuff like that for a vote, that doesn't matter. The thing is, the Shannon vote did have an impact, and it does shape things into this. And then the people who obviously survive that vote have can vouch for that if they're on the jury as well. And then, yeah, and I feel like there is the possibility there. Sophi B, which is like, I feel like, yeah, she survived all the stuff with the original Blue Tribe, and then she was able to find her way very well into the Uli with Savannah and Rizz God. And then I feel like it really depends on who she's up against, but I think she does have a strong case. Kristina, I feel it really depends on how well she plays the emotional card, because it
Yeah.
could technically work out, but I would say she's least likely, because I would say her biggest thing is, like, she's very likable. She has emotion, even though early
Yeah.
we've been talking about winner odds more than anything about this episode. But to like kind of touch on one thing that did happen was a tribal council where like Kristina and Savannah were like, yeah, it's like, I think outside of the game, like, we like each other, but when it comes to game, it's just like, no, I think it's just not working out, or like our vibes are way too different.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think Christina. I mean, the edit obviously is what's like dooming us for Christina. I actually think that there's definitely a world where we're watching this whole thing unfold on the island, and we have higher odds that Christina is going to win this. And I think a lot of that comes down to who the first four people on the jury are. And they are all people of color, all black. And I definitely could see if she got to the end, like them being like, congratulations, like, good job, you're the only black person to make it to the end here, you managed to survive this, the four of us, we get to decide now, and we're gonna vote for Christina.
And I do think that is a fair thing to say, because like, it's like one of those things where I can't imagine that when all four of them, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
listened to the exit interviews like you have, but I can't imagine the four of them being in the jury. Well, I mean, like, we've been talking about this pretty much since MC, where, it happened two in a row.
Yeah.
Just imagine, like, she's already going in there with that mindset, and then two more, like two more people just like her end up on there, and then like that would be discussed, because
Yeah.
especially if that was something that was already, like, mentioned before she even got voted out. You got to be damn sure that they were talking about it then. And then like, because it hasn't been something that's been outright stated on the show either,
Yeah.
like in like, but it is something where, kind of like we were talking about, it's like it did have an impact. Like, I don't know if we talked about it last time, but Jawan was like, kind of affected by it. Like, he obviously was like, I don't think there was anything like, it was just straight up just the gameplay and stuff like that. But like in the back of your, like, just because of like everything, they have to go through throughout their life and stuff like that. It's one of those things where it's like, it's going to be in the back of their mind. And I can't
Yeah.
imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know if you saw the
from what,
article, but Jawan's in therapy right now, actually, about
yeah,
this. So
he
it
yeah,
was
I saw a
definitely
video of him
it
talking
was
about it.
definitely a very big deal, and they're definitely not talking about it on the show because it probably was such a big deal that they're trying to not have that be the thought going into season 50 or something. I don't know, like clearly
Well,
the
I mean, yeah, it's kind of tough, because the fact of the matter is, it did happen that way.
yeah.
And it, like, that's also sometimes when you have, I'm trying to word this correctly, because like I'm trying to also like talk it through.
Hmm.
It's always tough when you're in a game, like, especially with the new, like, I don't want to say requirements, but like the vow that they've taken upon themselves for, these reality comp shows, to have at least 50% of the cast be people of color. it's one of those things where number wise, statistically, sometimes things like this happen. Not saying like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not trying to blame it on numbers or anything. Regardless, it still looks bad. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's like, like it doesn't matter. Like if the numbers and like statistics and all that, it still doesn't look good. And like, it's like one of those things too where it's like, I think also there could be a thing where I know 41 got a lot of backlash because they discussed stuff like that
Yeah.
throughout it. Granted, it was understandable that they would because it's like, it's the first season after 2020. And, it's like, so obviously things like that are going to impact the game because it's like the first time. And then also that's
Yeah.
like fresh, that's raw.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like Survivor may be a little trigger shy when it comes to that, or you know,
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I actually see a lot of parallels to Jawan and Deshaun actually, where they were both these people of color who have they seem good with everyone, but then they start turning on people of color, and both of them are now kind of getting some blame because Jawan was obviously in the driver's seat of most of those eliminations. So there's some of them are even kind of like seemingly maybe giving him some of that blame because he was the deciding factor of a lot of it, and so that's why he's in therapy. He's dealing with a lot of that, and I think
yeah,
I think Deshaun was in a very similar situation. He got to the end and then got crucified and was told like, wow, you screwed this up for all of us who we could have been to the end as that. So I really think there's a lot of interesting stuff. It's just that Deshaun got to the end and didn't have to go to Ponderosa. Jawan did end up going to Ponderosa and having to deal with
I
some of
do
it.
I do have to say about the whole stuff with like 41 Deshaun. The thing is, it
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right, where Jawan is like he played a very like I would say fluid game in this where he was kind of like working with whatever. 41, it was something where they try to make it work and it just like her like Shan and Deshaun just they didn't really vibe that well together.
Yeah.
They didn't work well together. And that's one of the biggest reasons why that alliance fell apart. It was because there were like a bunch of times where like they would be, talking about game and stuff and like granted, 41 is not fresh in my mind, but I do remember that because I
Mm-hmm.
was rooting for Shan. And I know, like, that falling out and kind of like, I don't think I can work with Shan. They could make that work. I mean, we've seen it before where it does work. I feel like, all right, in Big Brother, the Cookout Alliance,
Yeah.
granted, they had their issues. I don't know if you've watched season 23 of
I,
Big
I
Brother.
I like know of the season that I wasn't watching it.
Okay, so yeah, like early on in the game, it was suggested it was like, all right, we all got to look out for each other, the Cookout Alliance. And like they formed an alliance like that. And like there were times where the alliance even butt heads. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there was like Tiffany was go I wasn't gonna say going rogue, but more so like she was like also looking out for her own game, which she has every right to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like she was like, like there was like even an emotional moment where it's like, I can't, I have to put you up. I can't explain why. There was like that. There was like her and Derek Frazier kind of got into like some like arguments. Like even at the end, like it was like something where they had that at its core and they were able to make it work and, have one of the most successful alliance in reality comp history.
Yeah.
But like with Survivor and stuff, it's just they couldn't make it work in 41, and it
Yeah.
didn't, that happen. And then like I don't know like what Juwan is going through right now,
Yeah.
but it's like it was never like something where let's try and recreate, like let it's not
Yeah.
like he was fully
Yeah.
aligned. He
Yeah.
was more so in the middle, and then it just so happened that happened.
Yeah.
And I, like, I can only imagine what he's going through and be like, wait, did I have a part in that? I would imagine he doesn't feel good, obviously, if he's still in therapy about it, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's different circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think just in general, Survivor, it's really hard to do those cut and dry alliances, especially in modern day Survivor, where it's just like, let me just find this one aspect that we all have in common. Okay, we're an alliance now because of this one aspect, and now let's just do it. Because Big Brother, you can kind of like say, okay, well, if I go up, I'm not going to put anyone up there because then that's going to upset people. Let me find the easiest people to go off, and you kind of just slowly whittle your way down. Whereas Survivor, everyone's on the table like every round, and someone can always go, and you never know. And that paranoia is what causes people to not like to flip and go with other people because you're just never sure how it's going to shake out, what advantages are getting played, who's winning immunities. Like all of this extra stuff is kind of getting impacted in every single round. Whereas Big
Yeah,
Brother, you have like a couple things and you deal with it and then you just move on and then you go, okay, I
I will say,
I'm in the next round
well,
because I didn't get nominated or whatever.
I need to like
Yeah,
also like add in on this too. Like even before, they went from 39 days to 26 days. Big Brother versus Survivor. Survivor is just by nature of how it's like set up a much faster paced game.
yeah,
And also I will say also more stressful circumstances in the sense of like, yeah, you have have nots and stuff, and like, it's a longer period of time. So it's like, I'm not saying Big Brother doesn't have its like intense moments and like tough, like, and the things that make it hard.
hmm,
Like even Suri was like, Big Brother is hard, y'all.
yeah,
Is like hard because of like, like you always have to be on. It's not like an island where you can just go
yeah,
off into the forest. Like you're just in the house. It's like, but like when it comes to Survivor, I mean, we even talked before the show about it's like the difference between minis and like long games when it comes to online reality games. It's like
yeah,
you have more, it's just a different feel. And then, like, it's like your mind, just goes different. Or even or games that have different layouts than others, like one where there's an elimination every day or one where there's an elimination every other day. It's like the pacing and stuff,
yeah,
changes the pay like changes the pace, and then it's like I would say like you have more time to like reconvene with your alliance or like mend fences in Big Brother, whereas like Survivor, it's like things are happening like this, especially nowadays where it's like
yeah.
you get like maybe one off day in between stuff.
Yeah, and that's rare. I think even in those like four eliminations that went, there was only one off day in between that stuff where there wasn't a tribal council. So it goes very quick once the jury starts. Like they basically are in like this fashion, of just like, okay, every day we get something until we're down to like final eight or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's I hope Jawan's doing good, hope everything's
Much
good.
love, bro.
Yeah, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a game. You got to still live your dream. And also, that was last week. We also got to give love to Sophie S, who it could have been a big star on the season if they started her off as strong as she did in those last few episodes that she was a part of.
Agreed.
Like, I mean, another one of those. I think there's just a lot of controversy around the season. I think that is one of the things that is going to probably be remembered more so than a lot of the things going on in it. Is what's happened preseason, what happened during, and what's happening after the season. Like that is kind of the story right now. But it's not gameplay wise that's happening during it. It's a lot of the other things going on around it.
Yeah. And I will say like this season has been interesting because right from the very beginning, I'll say even right from season 46, when Jeff announced Survivor 50 is going to be an all returning season and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's like that kind of like like dampened the excitement for like 3 seasons
Mm.
afterwards. And then 49, it's always before you hit one of those milestone seasons, it's always one of the ones where it's like, oh, we're excited for the milestone season. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun. And it's like you want to enjoy the season for what it is, but yeah. And then I would say this, obviously, the fact that you announced that two players from this season is going to be on, and the fact that it's like in the day and the age of the internet,
yeah,
it couldn't have,
yeah,
like it's like, so it's like there's that, there's what's been happening in the game, there's the medevac that happened. There's like a lot of things where it's like, and then the overall entertainment of the show, where it's like some people like this, some people like that. It's like it's just a lot.
yeah, exactly. And the fact that they're in just this is Survivor 49, this is Survivor 50, like numbering it like that, prevented them from doing something like what they did in Second Chances, where they filmed Co Wrong before Second Chances, but they released season 31 because everyone wanted to see 31 because they were going to be doing the fan votes, and so they were hyping it up. And then they did 32. So afterwards, even though it was the 31st season they filmed, they were able to kind of move that around, so 32 had like its own thing. It wasn't, people weren't expecting anything right afterwards. But yeah, once you're, I think it's the worst time to apply. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people who didn't apply to this season because they knew about Survivor 50. And yeah, exactly. Like, who would want to be on the season there when literally it's like everyone is just way more excited? Yes, there are people who, like, I'm sure Rizz God had applied a bunch of times, and he was just like, whatever, I'm gonna be so good and be a great character that I don't care. Maybe I'll be on 50, whatever. And so he's gonna apply and do it. Yeah, there's going to be people like that. There's also going to be a lot of people who get swayed away.
I will also say it's just tough because it's like, statistically speaking,
Yeah,
your odds go down 50%.
yeah,
It's just like if there's if they film two seasons, it's like, all right, because they still divide on like gender
yeah.
and stuff like that. It's like you basically have like there's like 18 slots available for you.
Hmm.
And so it's like, well, if there's a all returnee season, that makes it 9 slots. And so like literally your odds of getting on are halved.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then there's that added aspect that you were mentioning where it's like, I'm just going to be overshadowed by the big cool season that everyone has been talking about for 2 years.
yeah. Yeah, and I think, obviously some people got pulled and we got replaced with alternates, but there were some other alternates that were put on here. And I think it might even be just like they were having a little trouble finding some people, and they just had to be like, okay, let's bring in some people who were in our casting process for a while, who we had interviewed before, who just kept getting cut for whatever reason. And we end up with a season where, yeah, we have a lot of those people who were kind of on the precipice of being on a season, and then like a few people who were like, "Ooh, yeah, we got this person." And I think that's kind of what we got here. Which, ideally on a season, you have a bunch of people who are like, "Oh my god, this person's on the cast." Whereas right now, yeah, there's a lot of people who are just kind of like mid tier in terms of like our excitement about them, because they're just kind of like I could I like Steven. If I talk to Steven, I'm sure I'm gonna like him, but also I could easily see him being an alternate as well, like someone who's they bring out there. If someone can't make it, let's just put Steven in there. He can fill that hole to a lot of people. I think there's a lot. I
It's
think I
tough to
think I
say.
I think you could go through at least 15 to 14 people on the season, and I could see that those people being like alternates on different seasons of Survivor, and I'd be like, that would make sense.
It's tough to say. Like,
Yeah.
I know we haven't really talked too much about the whole alternate thing on
Hmm.
here, except for like, when it's revealed that they were an alternate. This one, we went preseason with, because that was one of the
Hmm.
biggest stories about this season, how like there was two alternates that made it into the game, and there was this huge, like scandal
Controversy. Yeah.
beforehand. Yeah. So it's like hard to take away from, it's one of those things where it's like, well, that's also something that's being just more addressed right now. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like if you make it that far, it's like one of those things where it's like there's only so many slots
Yeah.
available where it's like Survivor doesn't want to cast someone they don't think has, basically they don't want to waste a slot.
Yeah.
Um, because it's like, it's like, what if this person became the winner? Or, oh, like we chose this person when we could have had this person, where it's like, it's one of those things where it's like your cast is your cast, and it's like, and we've hosted orgs before, and
Hmm.
like we try and get like the best cast that we can for whatever time we've done, and it's like we don't hire duds on purpose. It's
Yeah.
like we might it's like we try and get the best cast that we possibly can for those, and then we just come up with the format of everything, and then it's in their hands how they want to play and what happens.
Hmm.
um yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk down on the on the cast, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I just feel like editing wise they could have made them shine a little better.
Yeah, and also, not my view, but I do watch Survivor with some people who are more casual fans, um,
Yeah.
and they after this episode said this is the worst season of Survivor they've ever seen. Now, yet again, they haven't seen a bunch of seasons, but they've seen since season New Era 45 onwards, and they've seen some of the a few older seasons as well, and they're like, this season is terrible compared to all of them.
I mean, that's just some people's
Yeah, yeah,
opinions.
yeah. Yet again, just someone's opinion, but I do think that there's a lot of casual fans who are feeling this way. I've seen a lot of hate for the season online, and that
I've
is,
seen I've seen things here and there,
mhm,
but this is also my busy time of year, so
yeah,
I don't see way much as I usually do for the spring season.
yeah. No, it does seem like this is a generally negative season in terms of the casual fan reception, and obviously, I think that I do think this episode not as good as the last few. I think it was definitely like not as good, um, but like I do think that if you look at just the last three episodes besides this, it was definitely trending
Yeah.
upwards. Um, but I do think that a lot of people, and I think a lot of casual fans and like people that are even like in the org community care a lot about pre-merge, because I've noticed that a lot about whenever a season they consider sucks is because they just were not invested in what happened pre-merge. Like I think that's why 46. We know a lot of people who hate 46, and the reason people hate 46 is because of Banu. Like, and that
Oh,
overrided the
yes.
entire season for them.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
the thing is, it's like this goes back to just storytelling in general, especially
yeah,
like, or not even just storytelling, but like what we're on YouTube. It's like if people aren't interested and if you're not grabbing their attention early on, they're just going to click away.
yeah,
The thing is, it's like it's something where when it comes to Survivor, if you're not hooked in the beginning, it's like, why do I care about these people?
mm-hmm.
Like, I remember, so not Survivor, but Big Brother. There was, it's season 9. It is overall not a great cast. And then also the formatting was also not great as well. They tried doing basically what they did in It Takes Two
Mm-hmm.
for that one. And like the cast itself, there was like all these like it just was like there's not really too many people I'm rooting for here. It's just like I'm
No,
not big on really anyone here. And so like it's something where I just kind of like have it on the background while I'm doing other stuff, because usually I try and like sit down and like watch,
mm-hmm.
like maybe grind on, like if I'm like training up for Pokemon or trying to get like items and stuff. but like most of my, I'd say 75 my attention span is going to be on it. For that season, I was just like, I'm just watching it because I want to be able to say that I've seen every single season.
Mhm.
And like this one is just like, I'm just going to practice doing this. I'm just going to do this as I do chores around the house. It just wasn't as fun.
Mhm.
And, like, things do heat up when it comes to the jury phase or when it dwindles down and when you have your main characters more in the forefront. Because, like, if you're not hooked in the beginning, it's like, why should I care about the rest?
Mhm.
It's, like, not saying that it can't, but it's trickier because it's like, like how you start, does matter when it comes to storytelling
Mhm.
or when you're watching something.
Mhm. Yeah, and I agree. And I think one of the worst things you can do also is be mid. I think in any entertainment, that is one of the worst things you can be. If you're bad, at least people can find an enjoyment. Let's look at Gabon. There's a lot of bad things and like not great things going on in Gabon, but people can laugh at it. You can still find some enjoyment. But with this season's pre-merge was just like watching paint dry sometimes. It was just like move to the next episode. Like let's just get to the jury already. Like let's hurry this thing up. And that's just not exactly fun to talk about, to watch, to listen to. Like it's just not fun. Like imagine if our entire podcast was just like, yeah, this season's okay.
Yeah.
Like I get
Thankfully,
this.
you and I
Yeah.
thankfully you and I have things to discuss about, and we just have really great, on-camera chemistry and stuff, and it just helps elevate whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
we,
But
we
this
talked
season,
about the whole prospect of chickens and
yeah.
whether or not they can lay eggs without a mate,
Yeah.
and that's been hilarious.
Yeah, but regardless, this season has like it feels like we're having to really pull to find stuff sometimes. Where it's just like, okay, come on, Survivor, give us something good here. And I have been very critical of the last few seasons of editing. And I just feel like I'm seeing it still. Like I just am seeing flaws in the editing. And I told you, I was either last week or 2 weeks ago, where I was watching Millennials versus Gen X, and boy howdy is that first episode able to set and establish like 15, 16 of those players so much better than Survivor with 18 players is able to establish like five. Like right now they can establish like five good players, and then everyone else kind of just is like, I'm here too. I can't wait for this journey. And it's just kind of like, wow, I don't care about these people because they're not giving us anything to be interested in. It's just like, here are your main characters, here's two supporting characters, and then here is someone who might say
Tribal
something.
fodder, basically.
Yeah, and that is new era editing for the last at least few seasons, it feels.
Yeah. Because, like, it's just like you want to be able to, like, I feel like going into a season, it's fun where, you can kind of cheer for anyone. Or like, it's always like tougher where it's just like, oh, I can see this and stuff. And sometimes, yes, we play devil's advocate just in the sense of like, we don't want it to be as straightforward, or it's just like interesting to talk about, well, what if? But
Yeah.
I think it's one of those big things where you bring up the edit. It's hard to argue the edit, especially after 41. 41 was one of the one times they were like, okay, maybe we should actually listen to the
Yeah,
fans.
yeah, and then 42 they like re-edited that whole thing. It's clear that there was one edit and they had to like kind of figure out how to change it and make it not as atrocious.
They were like, oh, wait. Yeah, okay, they don't like the splitting up an episode where no one gets voted off. Shit, 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 shit.
Yeah, yeah, and then look at season like 44 where they had three people, the Tika three, and they were like, "This alliance is gold. Let's just give the audience the Tika three." And I think that may have even boiled over, where now it does feel like they like to focus on the important major alliance that goes really deep into the game. These are your characters. If you're not in that alliance, fuck you. like like too bad, you made the wrong choice. Like that's basically how it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it goes same 45. The Reba 4 got a lot of content, and then they gave, the underdog edit to Emily. But then, like, besides that, I mean, like, Bruce is just doing some wacky stuff and doing that. Katura's just saying, I hate Bruce. Jake's just nothing's going his way, and that's all he's doing. Like everyone else just kind of feels like they're just like, we're just kind of here to and let those four players actually like talk about the game.
I mean, oversimplification, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah. Gosh, we've talked about so much.
That's not this episode.
Yes. We're already like an hour in.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know. This episode was very mid, and also we're doing this so much later than we're usually doing it.
Ryan has been very busy. That is his fault.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah, so I feel like we just kind of had a lot of thoughts about where the season's going, and we just
that's basically what we've talked about. I know, like, we've touched on things here and there. One of the things was, this was rather interesting. They were like, hey, here's a journey. Choose amongst yourselves.
So dumb.
And they crazy. Let the one guy that they don't want to go because they were worried about, like, losing their vote or putting a target on them. But it's like, I get that in some degree, but also you're letting your target have a possibility to win something.
Yeah, that was a very dumb move just because they were afraid of doing a strenuous journey. Which, to be fair, I would rather do a strenuous journey than a journey that results in like a puzzle and you got one chance to solve it or you lose. Because that is like the odds of failing that way higher.
Or death saving throws, which is just purely luck.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas like this one, I'll just be honest. I think they designed this challenge so anyone physically could do it. Because if you notice where Steven was, he could have taken another 2 hours probably, and it would have still been he would have still been fine.
Yeah, I don't know about how oceans work and stuff like that, but I mean, like, out of everyone there, I mean, I wouldn't say there's really.
I think what they wanted out of this was for people to not like go through it and then mess up and then have to do it again. And so I think they purposely designed something that they were hoping people would have to do 2, maybe 3 circles around. And that would be what really makes it tough and strenuous. But Steven, obviously, is smart enough. He can just do it in one go, and he memorized it all, and he was fine.
Well, you just kind of repeat the numbers over and over again. Yeah. Now, granted, even if you don't have the numbers in the right order, it's still the numbers. So, like, you just, roll it however many times until you get the right combo.
Yeah, but still, I mean, when you're running around, like, accidentally saying, like, oh, this is a 6 and then being like, oh, it's actually an 8 or whatever, like, I wasn't going to give you a chance for the 6-7 meme. I almost made that mistake. I'm not giving you that chance.
Okay, In-N-Out Burger. Did you know that In-N-Out Burger decided temporarily to remove order numbers resulting in 67 just so kids won't harass them about it?
That's right. That's a good decision. I recently went to an indie wrestling show, and they kept doing 6-7 memes like during the wrestling, and I was like, stop it. This is terrible.
This is how we get an alpha interested in things.
We were at a bar and no one there had any interest in 6-7. It was getting booed. The good people were trying to do this and it was getting booed.
No.
Yeah, so I do think that this was very much geared for anyone to do it. The fact that it was Steven just made this one of the easiest journeys in terms of getting something that we've seen in a very long time.
Well, I mean, yeah. He also has one thing about Steven, he has that good like brain to brawn ratio
Hmm.
where it's like he's fit and then also like well obviously dude's a rocket scientist. So
Yeah.
like clearly he has that, but it's just like, so he's pretty decent when it comes to Survivor. So it's like, yeah, he can do a I don't know how long or how big the island was, but let's just say it was a 5K. It's like, yeah, he can do a 5K.
Yeah,
Looks like it.
the toughest part really was being on the rocks and the watery rocks. That is the dangerous part. I mean, if you look at his legs,
Very.
his legs are banged up from doing that. So I mean, we saw at least one slip in there as well that they put in. So he definitely probably fell a few more times that they just didn't show. Um, and I'm surprised that they let that like that. That's basically the toughest part of it is that your legs get banged up from it, but you get a block vote, and because he survives this round, I mean, that's now super valuable at final six. Block vote
Yeah.
not valuable very much at final seven because you're going to just make it a 3-3 and it's just like, okay, now do we do rocks, and is that really that great at that
Yeah.
point? Like
It has more power, especially
yeah,
in odd numbers. Or it has
in
no, I
even
mean like
numbers.
in even numbers,
Yeah,
which makes it an odd number.
yeah, exactly. And I think he's got to use it next round. I'm not sure. They didn't really tell us. I think, but I'd imagine.
I
I'd imagine.
usually
Yeah,
usually it's final six and like idols are like five.
yeah, exactly. So I'd imagine it's getting used next round. They're gonna try to take out Savannah. That's my guess. I actually think for Steven, he almost maybe wants Savannah because if Savannah goes at 6, he is now like clear front runner in terms of like who everyone's gonna want to target at 5. Oh, Ryan disappeared again. Where did he go? Oh, he left again. He's not in the room anymore. Okay, well, yeah, it's definitely apparent that Steven's going to become the biggest threat. It's not even really much of a discussion or a possibility that you go for Rizz God. I mean, Rizz God's going to probably get brought to the end as a goat in some scenarios, I still believe. But yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay,
All right,
brought you back on.
gotcha.
Okay.
So what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying that for Steven, he almost needs Savannah at 5 because she's the only like person that maybe you take out at 5. Like there's almost a chance that he wants a Rizz God or Sophi B to be the ones to go next week more so than Savannah because and even though I think his chances of winning immunity grows with Savannah going, I do think if he doesn't win immunity, he's then just like, we're going to get that generic, you played a great game, Steven. We love you, but we can't let you get to the end. And Steven's going to give an analogy about how Survivor's like rocket science and how excited and grateful it was he played this game and how amazing of a journey it was. And then he goes out like that. Like, and then that is a very possible scenario if he doesn't win immunity at 5 or Savannah's not one of the options at 5.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with Sophie Bananas going, it's like Jeff even mentioned it at Tribal Council, where it's like there have been 6 immunity challenges. They've only been won by 3 different people.
Yeah.
And so like that speaks volumes of like this could really shape up how like that can play consideration as like, well, if there's 3 more challenges and we have these 3 challenge beasts here, if you want to call them challenge beasts, I feel like you need 3 wins a season to be a challenge beast contender. Granted, you
Oh.
might get sniped early, but I digress. It's like, well, all right, they got rid of her, Sophie S. And then it's like, well, now you have Savannah, now you have like Steven. I think it's yeah, you kind of want a shield, but the thing is you also don't want your shield to go too far
Yeah.
because it's like one of those things where it's like this is around the time where you might want to let your shield go.
Hmm.
Um Usually around the 6-5 mark, we see social players being targeted a lot, or like the people that might get in your way from winning immunity that can guarantee you safety.
Hmm.
Usually it's social players that you really see it. So, yeah, I think that's kind of like where the headspace is really.
Yeah. But I mean, for Steven, it really is all just going to be up to what he does with that block of votes. Like he has the ability to do something, but also the idol could negate whatever he's going to do because they have to stack votes. Like they can't split votes at this level. They just don't have the people to really pull off a split vote. Because Sophie, I mean, maybe you get Sophi B, and then you got 2-2-2 scenario. Um, but I don't. Maybe I mean that yet again. Sophi B, I think, would get more credit if she would ends up flipping and doing that. And I think her winner status, by the way, like next week, I would be like so high on Sophi B if she made that move. Like I would immediately go like top number 1 contender. If suddenly next week Rizz God or Savannah get taken out because Sophi B flips, like number 1 contender for me. I just don't think I see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Um, yeah, it's interesting because we have these advantages that
Mhm.
are out and about.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, like these are like the final moves. This could, like with 3 tribal councils left. Well, technically 2. It's
Mhm.
you really have to start like who can I win against, who's this, who's that, and like
Yeah.
we saw a lot in this episode where Sophie B was like, yeah, I feel like the third there. And
Yeah.
it's like even though you did see earlier in the season Savannah and Sophie B bond and stuff, it was like she definitely feels like the third, and that's like a hard thing to shake.
Yeah.
And especially like if they're getting all the glory and then they're like, oh, they just kind of adopted you because you're just a number. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which also I think is why we see a lot of fluidity in modern in new era Survivor, where you do see a lot where it's like, oh, someone's on the bottom, and then someone is like scoops them up because it's like, all right, this might actually a good opportunity for you because now you feel like, garbage because you just
Yeah.
lost your number 1 ally. Well, I can use that.
Mhm. Yeah. I just had a thought actually. So everyone is in the Savannah's the winner because she replaced Marianne. But you know who Rizz God replaced, right?
No.
He replaced Andy, 6th place finisher. Now I don't know if they would do a straight up boot like switch, but yeah,
I don't know. I feel winner versus placement. If it just
mhm,
so happens to be that,
yeah,
yeah, I kind of clocked Rizzo as maybe a 6th placer.
yeah,
However, can't like the parallels would be there. I don't know. Um, it's also sad to see that Andy was so close and didn't make the cut. I was like,
I think he should have been on the cast. I think it's crazy that he
I will
wasn't.
say, Riz watches this show too, or
Yeah.
he at least saw a few. He's aware of
Yeah,
our
I
existence.
don't think that Rizz God should not be on the season. I think that we could
Yeah,
have looked
if I were
back
to
and
choose one or two, it's just like
yeah.
don't, because I like both, but I'm like
I
I've
think
played
I
an and I've
true
played an
yeah.
Andy game before, so I have a bit more of an attachment.
Yeah, truthfully, I would have been down for Andy to be on the season, and like I liked Charlie, like he was fine on the season, but I don't necessarily say like I need to see Charlie play again. I would have been totally down if Rizz God was the replacement for Charlie.
I will say when it comes for Charlie, it's like, and we'll get more into this when we go into our
Yeah,
discussions. And yes, that was meant to be plural about season 50. It's like if you look at, and like even like Jeff was like earlier this season with the Jake, like medevac, it was like, it's like if we're talking about stories and stuff like that, Charlie still has a story to tell. It was like, he was
mm,
so close to winning the million, because his number one ally turned on him and all this stuff. And then like, you know, Kenzie also had like a really strong like final tribal council as well, where she was able to like just lay it all out on the table. So a lot of things that like that got her that W, and that just cost Charlie. Also, Jeff really enjoyed Charlie, so it's like,
yeah,
no, he's not going to let his baby go like that.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it, but I think if I was definitely in the casting room, that would Charlie would be one I would be looking at. I think New Era also. I just don't think we need Kyle. I really don't think that Kyle is someone that we needed to bring back right away. I think he could have. He was like an okay. He's mid
All right.
tier entertainment, and that's
I don't think three people needed to have come back from 48. I agree.
yeah,
We'll get to the. I want to do this, but
yeah,
kind of similar to Andy, I also played a Kyle Frazier game, and that also
yeah.
ended up being the game that I ended up winning and being my favorite org. So it's like I kind of have that emotional attachment. Also, for the first time in forever, he was the person I chose to be a winner, and he actually won. So like there's that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I think there's merit. It's just like we'll get to it, but it's like I don't know. Uh that was like the strong theory. Even before that, there was the whole theory of like how the tribes were divided and how the other two teams had a new era winner, and like this was the team that didn't have a winner, and we didn't know the placement of one of the new era people. So like it stands to reason, like there were a lot of things implying that Savannah was is the winner of this season.
Of the players. I do think that like when you hear Jeff Probst talk, it isn't like how they do and all that stuff. It's like them and their stories, and it's like that's the stuff that he does care about a lot. So I do wonder for him. I just think it's crazy also that Marianne got removed. I think that's another like that's just an L in my opinion. Like I think Marianne, not only was she a winner, but she was a big personality, big character.
She's also There's also like no one else like her on Survivor.
Yeah,
Like even when we were talking about like in the sense of like, yeah, there have been like the quirky girl archetype that we've seen before, but
yeah,
like quirky girl archetype and ended up winning as well.
yeah.
That was something where like Marianne was like kind of like the first one of that archetype to do.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're
Also had a
comparing
lot of fun.
Savannah. We're comparing Savannah to D, who was on the season,
Uh, uh,
which is kind of weird that they don't replace D, but they replace Marianne.
Preseason, yes.
Yeah,
This season, as the
I
season
still.
unfolds, not so much.
I think I've been hearing a lot. I think that is absolutely that she is a very much a D player, where she's playing in a power seat. She's, a little bit has this little villainous
D has
edge.
been like dominant. D was like dominant for most of her season.
Yeah,
Like no, like Savannah has been like fighting from the bottom and has
but
just been
but
like
she's fighting from the bottom, sure, in an aspect, but she's always the one who's coming out on top here. I mean, the only one that wasn't was Nate, and then ever since then, it has been the Savannah steamroll show where we're just constantly like, oh, they're just gonna get through this again. It doesn't matter. They're gonna keep dictating who goes home. Um, and what I'm saying a lot is that she's got that villainous edge where she's a little like sassy. She's going to kind of talk down to some people, especially in confessionals. And just overall, still good in competitions. I definitely think like if there was like an overlap of like what they're bringing to the table, it's like an 80% overlap. Like there's a very like it's very heavy of parallels there. Whereas I don't always see like Nate. What's a parallel that Marianne and Savannah have? What? I don't know. They're both women. Okay, we found it.
no,
Everyone.
I said winners.
Oh well, yeah, yeah.
Uh, good TV, in my opinion. I know some people may disagree with either of
Yeah,
those options, but I'm like, I think
yeah.
both of them are entertaining.
Obviously, so it's weird because Savannah obviously has the most confessionals on the season. We know this has been the case, but yet I feel like every week I keep kind of being here and being like, okay, but why is Savannah on season 50? She's getting content. I know why Rizzo's on season 50. We've seen it. We know why already. We don't know why Savannah's on season 50 yet. It even though she is getting the most content of the season.
You got 2 more episodes. I would
Yeah.
say her performance is worthy of an all-star. Now, for season 50, I know the criteria was a little bit different, especially if it was a new era player, because this is the first time a lot of them were eligible. And so, like, they did lean a little heavy towards that, obviously, trying to make it like a 50-50 split. But, like, the story isn't, we still have 2 more episodes of like Savannah. And I know, like, for you were saying, like, well, why the hell is Kyle here? Or why the hell is Joe here? Well, actually, no, it makes a lot of sense why Joe here. I feel like out of the 3, Joe makes the most sense.
I knew he was going to be on 50. Like you could just tell by the first episode that they were like trying to set him up as the next like big player.
Yeah. Camilla is definitely one where I think she will benefit from. I feel like she's someone that will definitely benefit from a second go around, but I think also she came so close, and that's the last thing people saw before they went on the island.
Yeah.
Well,
I can see Camilla going out pre-merge very like especially if what we believe is true, where it's going to be a lot of eliminations happening in the first like 6 episodes. I can see.
No, I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I can see her go, but I'm like, I need to look at trap divisions and stuff. That's more analysis for later.
Yeah.
But this episode, also, one thing we haven't talked about. What were your thoughts on the spinning stacking challenge thingy?
Yeah, it's interesting. So like when they first explained it and showed it, I thought it was gonna be like impossible. I thought it was gonna be so hard. And then once you start seeing that, oh, it's actually like super stable and they can kind of just go and didn't have to worry too much, like a little bit slower when it's like at the end. But we're so used to like everyone kind of going really slow and letting a lot of things drop, and that's like the fun of this challenge, is seeing everyone drop a bunch of times and who's the leader is constantly going.
Yeah,
this, because it was so different, it just benefited the person who went the fastest.
Yeah, I will say, like, this one, it's like, because they've done stuff where it's like if you touch the frame, it knocks over.
Yeah.
We've seen the ones where, they bounce it on a little platform and they have to keep the line taut enough to keep the platform stable.
Mhm.
We've seen it done like different ways. This one, I would say on paper, it sound harder, but like I feel like the blocks, because you would see they could even lean and still,
Yeah.
like, as long as you were careful enough, like, you would
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah, and you could like
Like,
still reposition your blocks basically. I mean, we saw even Steven, his was going all over the place, but he would still kind of like be able to move it around a little bit. So there was definitely it just was easier. I mean, I saw Sam from season 47. He's complaining a lot about this challenge. He's saying like it needs to go back. Like this was just get from point A to point B the challenge.
I mean, listen, the challenge is the challenge. Some are obviously going to be better than others.
Yeah.
This one was It was a choice. I'm like, I don't think it's like the worst challenge they've ever done, but I'm like,
Yeah.
it's something where like it was odd and they've done things harder than that. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, at the end of the day, the person still has to do the task in order to complete it. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't feel like the outcry is as necessary, because I've been seeing like articles like pop up when I go on Google, or like Facebook things like, what the fuck was this? I'm like, it was just a challenge. And like, is it the hardest one they've done? No, but is it the worst thing they've ever done? Not by a
Yeah.
long shot.
Yeah, I think it's just that it's like replacing a challenge that everyone loves, and it took away the best part of the challenge. I think that's
Yeah.
the annoyance of it. And you know what? We need people to outcry. I'm just gonna say it. If we don't outcry, we get this again, and we get it again, and we get it again.
Even Jeff was like, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know what we're thinking about this one. So I think we'll
yeah,
be fine.
yeah. Well,
It's
I'm
not coming
yeah.
back for season 50.
Yeah, it better not. I know that there's going to be some of these challenges that we saw recently. I guarantee you that that's like get your feet up and there's a plate and you're holding it there. That Savannah one.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's going to be on 50.
They emphasized that it was a brand new challenge. So, like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we're definitely going to get that. We're going to get probably a couple more, but yeah, I'm down for us just do something else or figure out how to make it harder. I think the real issue really is just it was the platforms were just way too stable. Like they were like you could kind of whip them around a bunch and they would still kind of still be in their structural place. So something
Yeah,
has yeah.
the blocks were good too. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen them have more finicky and topply stuff before.
Yeah, what they needed is just like maybe some more like things can move like this way as well instead of just being about spinning. Because the fact that it's just spinning means it's staying in the same spot but spinning. So it's not really.
I mean, there's always
Yeah,
centrifugal force, but it's like,
yeah,
so if it's slightly off, in theory, yeah, it could drop. But it's like it wasn't nearly as bad and doesn't take as much concentration as like when you're holding on to the rope. The
yeah.
one, if you're doing that and you're near the top and you lose concentration for a split second, you're
Yeah.
losing your
Yeah,
blocks.
well, the toughest part of this challenge, in my opinion, was the fact that you had to step up onto the block, onto like a apple box, basically, to then get your pieces. I don't know if you saw that. That in my opinion, hardest part of the challenge.
Stepping.
Yeah, it was stepping backwards onto an apple box.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, Steven won that one, is second of the season. So like, yeah, and then that ruined some people's plans. And then they were like, all right, do we finally get rid of Savannah or Rizzo?
Yeah,
And then some people are behind that plan, but ultimately it just kind of like, I blinked and they were like, everyone was just kind of like, you know what? Sophie, yes.
yeah,
Like Sage wanted vengeance, and then like Savannah and Rizzo were like, yeah, Sophie, yes. And then like Sophi B was like, I can finally be the only Sophie. And then Steven and Kristina were just like, yeah, she's a little wishy-washy, sure. and then that
Yeah.
just kind of like it just kind of was like, oh yeah, she's just gone.
Yeah. First off, how ironic is it that everyone was so scared to go on that journey because they didn't want to get worn out for the immunity challenge, just for the person who went, who got worn out, to then win this immunity challenge by going the fastest. Like, just so crazy. Like if you're going out there on Survivor and you're scared of being worn out the day before an immunity challenge, don't be. Don't be. Just go do it.
Also, you have a day to recover. That's like doing shit
Yeah.
around camp. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll be fine. So don't make that mistake again, Survivor players. And yeah, this was also, man. I don't know if this was going into a tribal council and just knowing the outcome before before it begins. Like they did not really give us I didn't believe anyone else was going but Sophi. Yes, there was no like, actually it's going to be this person. Like, it just did not feel like that at all. It was just like, okay, well, it's Sophi.
Yeah, I don't even remember if it was like that.
No, it wasn't really. Like, we heard one thing for Sophi S, who was like, yeah, this is the move to do Savannah, and then it cut, and then everyone else is saying, let's do Sophi S. So it's like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Like, there wasn't even no one else was even thinking of doing something else. It was just Sophi S.
It just felt right.
Yeah, well, it makes sense for Steven. He wants to hold his block of votes, so he's not going to use it there. It makes sense for Rizz God, Savannah, obviously, because they're the ones who would most likely be getting targeted here. Also, Rizz God gets to now keep his idol for final 6, which I'm sure he's like, yeah, sure, let me just take out a random number who may or may not be with us. We know that, like, it got revealed that she was looking to flip, so there was like, okay, sure, let's just take you out. And yeah, pretty much everyone, it kind of makes sense for, except for Sage, who I still think is just like, she needs to take out Savannah. Like, she needed a resume move, not a let me do what other people want to move.
All right. Well, now we can just refer to Sophi B as Sophie for 2
Yep.
episodes. Well,
Wow.
actually, really just 1 episode because it might come out in the whole, jury phase. Like when the jury speaks and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that is there. Let me pull up confessionals.
Because we value screen time on this channel.
That's right. That's right. So, Savannah is currently number 1 at 64. Also, Sophi S went out at 34 confessionals. So Savannah had
Just
a whole
under,
just
under the bottom.
Under the Banu bar, and 30 less than what Savannah has right now.
But more so the Banu bar. That
Yeah.
is the thing about Survivor. If you don't get past the Banu bar, it's worse than going.
It's gonna be sad if one of us gets on Survivor and we're not above the Banu bar. Whether that's we go out super early or we make it deep,
we
and
make it.
The editors just don't
we
care.
make it. Yeah. Is there any? Well, we're about to go through everyone, but I think Rizz God is over it. Sage is over it.
There's only one person.
Is over.
There's only one person who's not over it, and that's Kristina.
Yeah,
and I don't think she's gonna make it. I don't. Maybe she will.
You told me she had 2 episodes where she did not get a single confessional.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
what's the numbers?
So yeah, Savannah number 164. Next up, Sophi B at 56 confessionals. And then we got a tie at 54 confessionals between Rizz God and Steven.
Which is the first time in a long time that an OG Hina has not, have not been all together on the bottom.
Yeah, it's been since like episode 3 of the season. Okay, and then Sage is next at 52 confessionals, so just under them. And then Kristina is at the end here with 28 confessionals.
That's damn near half of what everyone else has.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
I feel bad.
Yeah. It's a bad look, especially since she's the last remaining African American contestant, and she's
Oh
getting the
god,
least amount. Yeah, I'm
it
just saying,
even goes
like
back to
there's
that.
there's stuff being hidden here. I'm just saying. I think a lot of her content is being covered up. That's my conspiracy theory. Um,
I don't know. I mean, like, she's been given some decent content too, but like,
I think the moment when she cried, I think that's more about the racial stuff than it is about just her missing her mom. I'm sure the mom is like she wants to be able to, like, because that's someone who she could talk to about with this stuff, and she doesn't have that person because they keep going home. I
that's
think there's a lot of stuff that's going to get revealed probably after even 50. Like it's going to be like much later into it.
I never thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right, and then MVP, it's obviously Steven.
Yeah,
We've said it
this
beginning
was
of this
this was the
episode.
Steven episode, like, which made me think he
Um,
could have maybe gone home at the start. Like as it was going, I was like, oh, is this somehow going to lead to a Steven elimination? Wins immunity, and then it's like, nope, it's just Sophi S.
yeah. And then LVP,
I'm going to give it to Sage. I've already told you why I think this wasn't the best thing for her.
she
I
was acting on emotion, yeah.
Yeah.
I might say Sophi B just because I feel she could have pulled the trigger on that move. I feel like this would have been a better time to do it.
Maybe I
Um,
think that she wants to I think it's finding your time. We praised Kyle last season, or at least you did, for finding your moment and striking at the right time, which happened to be at Final Six against Shaheen.
true. I think I think I'm worried about, like, granted we don't have the full picture,
Yeah.
but it was like I just haven't. I don't know. Like maybe the timing is right, or maybe I'm just not picking up on it. But I feel like he, he it's just like he's getting closer to it, and like your window is kind of like closing out. And there, I don't know. Like I know one thing we didn't really talk about is like Rizzo thinks that Steven got like a steal a vote, which,
Yeah.
like obviously Steven's not going to say what it is or
Yeah.
not. If anything, if he gives anything away, it might be like just to kind of like play into that. Uh, One thing they could discuss is potentially knowledge is power. Rizzo might give it to Savannah, like you never know,
Yeah.
just so it's
Yeah. I think there's a
safe.
good chance that next week she's just gonna play it on Steven and not get anything and kind of look like she's got egg on her face.
For knowledge is power, do you specifically have to say advantage, or do you have to say what type of advantage?
That's something that people don't know. It seems like it's very vague. I do think, based off of when we first saw this at Power, it was either idol or advantage, but you didn't have to specify. It was just like you had to say one of those two words, and you get whichever from it.
That's
So
true. It's especially like in theory,
yes.
a survivor theory.
Thanks
Um,
for watching. No.
yeah. It's like if something was introduced into the game
Mhm,
that has not been in a season before,
mhm,
it'd be like, like let's use the vote magnet. For those who
mhm,
don't know, it's an advantage I came up with where you play it and any votes that would go to you go to someone else instead. You just have to claim who that person is. Let's say Jeff, it's season 50. Jeff introduces the vote magnet, and then I get all the royalties for that.
mhm,
Um, and then let's say you're on the tribe and I have something, and let's say you think it's steal a vote, and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to use this because I think you have an advantage. And I think and then Jeff's like, you have to say specifically what it is. It was like, steal a vote. No. And then I'm like, nope. Actually, it's something that's never been used before in the game.
Yeah,
Like, granted, obviously that rule would be there just in case, like as the game maker. But I'm like,
yeah,
I'd, I'd say it's easier to peg something as an advantage. Uh, it's easier to say, oh, someone has an advantage
yeah.
as opposed to like what type of advantage, as opposed to an idol. Because idol, for the most part, is cut and dry. It'll
Yeah.
have like conditions to like how you can play it, or like how like how much life it has in the game, or if
Hmm.
it has to be a part of something else first. But like for advantages, they have extra votes, block votes, steal of votes, knowledge is power. They have safety without power.
Yeah.
um they have all of that stuff.
Yeah. I'm also just a little worried that Sophi B is just going to get to the end and try to be like, look at this thing that I had this whole time, and I didn't even have to use it. And then everyone's going to
That
be
would
like,
just that would be like,
yeah,
well, no. Yeah,
yeah.
like, yeah,
Oh,
like
it's like kind of what Marianne, like, she pulled out the idol and was like, look at this, I didn't even have to use this idol, and that got her votes. I like, maybe she thinks that that's going to do it, but I really think that no one is going to be thrilled to know that they could have negated this idol this whole time.
yeah. All right. I don't remember next time on Survivor because it's been a while, but there is an episode this week, the penultimate episode before the finale.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I did watch some of the sneak peeks, and in it, it starts with Steven being super happy about how the vote went, which has so far been the catalyst for that person going home that week. We had it here with Sophie S. She did it in this episode. Jawan did it in the episode before that. So it's definitely could be some
could be a
trouble.
curse.
Could be a bit of a curse. And then also Sophi B talking about how she can't sit at the end with Rizzo and Savannah. But also, I don't know. I don't know.
You never know. You
She's
never
like,
know
yeah,
until
she's telling Kristina she's got to make a big move this week, and it's true. She does have to. It's the only chance that she has any chance to win this game.
yes. All right. Well, I guess that does it for now.
Hmm.
We'll try and see you later this week. I'm trying to think if I have anything that may interfere with that.
Yeah.
That is a Joe and I discussion, though.
Yeah, we'll
But yeah,
see. Yeah, I mean, we're here at an hour and 46-minute podcast here, so
though,
most
yes, most of that was talking about everything except the actual episode itself.
I mean, says something about the episode.
Well, I mean, we were talking more so like stuff we
Yeah,
would be saying like next episode right
yeah.
before finale. But, oh well, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. Peace.
Okay.